This is the Emergency Medical Minute.
Anybody feel like they're seeing more bat bites lately? Maybe it's just me. We've had kind of a clustering of people who come in to get rabies shots. One of the things that kind of always astonishes me is how conservative the recommendations are. Like if you were, went to the Natural History Museum and looked at a stuffed bat in the glass case, then they recommend you get a rabies shot. That's what it feels like anyway. So I want to look a little bit into the rationale behind that. So I looked at the CDC website and I just wanted to read you some direct quotes from their information specifically about bats. So any other rabid animal that you're concerned about, basically there needs to be a true encounter or bite that the person reports. But it's different with bats because there have been a number of cases where people weren't even aware of a bite and then they contracted rabies. And then when they did the DNA testing on the rabies, it was highly likely that it came from a bat. So for a bat, here are just a few quotes. They can get into the more superficial epidermal layers, like only just a scratch or bite, and it still results in rabies, as opposed to something like a dog that needs to give you an actual deep puncture wound type of bite. A situation that qualifies as a bat exposure includes finding a bat in the same room where a person may not have been aware that the bat was there. So if they're sleeping deeply, even if they have no evidence of bite or scratch, they're supposed to get a rabies exposure. So the common example with this is you find a bat in the house in the morning. Everyone in the household is supposed to get rabies prophylaxis, even though they feel completely healthy and even though it seems unlikely that they would have gotten a bite. It's a little complicated and can be regionally specific, so they recommend that you check with your health department. But in particular, listen to these stats, and this will kind of help you understand why they're so conservative with bats. So if you look at some stats from 1990 to 2007, so a 17-year time period, there were 34 rabies cases that were felt to be associated with bats in the United States. In 6 cases, they actually had a bite. They knew they had a bite. In 15 cases, people were aware of being near a bat, like they took a bat out of their home, but they didn't remember ever getting a bite or a scratch. And then in 11 cases, people didn't even report any bat encounter at all, but when they ran the DNA, they could tell that the rabies had come from a bat. So, basically it shows you that there's a high number of people that either didn't think they got bitten or didn't even see a bat anywhere and they still contracted rabies from a bat. So that's why we're so conservative with bat exposures. And there is a family, you'll see them this week. Just remember, if you field questions, don't kind of just wing it and say like, oh, you didn't get a bite, you're fine. Just refer them to the health department or the CDC website for their recommendations.
Emergency Medical Minute is and always will be about free medical education. Medicine's most prolific podcast is successful because of our supporters, donors, and of course, our listeners. Please like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And if you support spreading free medical education, please donate at our website, emergencymedicalminute.com. As always, keep listening.